Yo, what is up, guys? Lost Slurper here, and before we begin, don't worry about the background, it's still a work in progress, but we are here to go over the UFC Saudi Arabia card. Obviously, they stacked this card to the high heavens because the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, so we'll just jump right into it. I'm only going to go over the fights that I'm super interested in, so we're going to start with the Nicholas Dalby versus Renat fight, and we'll go from there. So, obviously, these two, it's going to be a fucking banger of a fight. Well, Renat might just lay on top of him the whole fight, but we're going to find that out. And it's pretty interesting because Nicholas Dalby seems to have hit a new stride in his career. He really has learned to pick up the pace and for some reason just has incredible cardio now. So I think that he actually stands a lot better of a chance in this fight than people are giving him. Renat is a minus 360 in this fight, which is fair. The last fight, he was pretty much dominating until he got rocked, and his opponent really was solid. So it's going to be interesting to see how this fight goes, but in general, I gotta go with Renat. He just got too much top control. Nicholas Dalby, even though he's explosive on the bottom, I think that it's not going to be enough to overpower and defend himself against Renat. So we're gonna go Renat by second or third round submission, or TKO from ground and pound. I'm not going to go too into this Felipe Lima versus Naimov fight. I think Naimov is just not a huge fan of his style. Hope he gets finished, but I genuinely do think Felipe has enough finishing power on the feet to put him out there. So I'd say Felipe Lima by finish in this fight. And Nasrat Haqparast is a fighter that I've been super excited to see do well for a while, and I'm glad he's gotten on a bit of a streak now. Jared Gordon, though, has to be one of the unluckiest fighters in the UFC, maybe ever, just because the loss he had to Paddy was complete BS, as we all know. Plus, the headbutt TKO was just absolutely nasty, so pretty bad luck. I'm glad he's getting. This should be a good fight because both them are right outside of the rankings. It'll be good to see which one of them is able to make it in. And I gotta go with Nasrat Haqparast on the feet because I think he has enough skill stuffing takedowns to prevent Jared Gordon from taking him down. But he's gonna maybe matrix Jared Gordon a little bit on the feet. I'm not taking anything away from Jared Gordon, but comparatively, Nasrat Haqparast is just the more diverse striker. He's got better boxing than Jared Gordon, he's got better kicks, and he has the fight IQ to be able to outstrike Jared Gordon on the feet. I don't think there's going to be a finish in this fight just because Jared Gordon, despite being cracked by the headbutt, has a pretty decent chin, and I think he's going to be able to survive, but unfortunately just get outpointed maybe 29-30, 27 by Nasrat Haqparast, so gotta go with Nasrat by decision. Now we get to the main card. We got Johnny Walker versus Volkan Oezdemir. This card is actual UFC pay-per-view. It's crazy how stacked they're going here, but super excited for this one. Johnny Walker, what can you really say about Johnny Walker? He's had a on and off career, maybe one of the most talented guys in the UFC of all time. His distance, his length, he could have been the next John Jones with proper coaching, maybe better fight IQ, better listening, but that's not how things played out. And Volkan Oezdemir, at one point, before he fought DC, was absolutely tearing through the division. We called him no time. He would always point towards his watch after he got his finishes, so it'll be interesting to see this fight. I mean, Volkan Oezdemir hits pretty hard. He seems to have lost a lot of confidence after that DC fight. He went on a big skid, didn't seem to trust his hands as much on the feet, but he seems to be picking it up a little bit. He fights a lot safer than he used to, which in this fight, I actually do think will help him against Johnny Walker, because Johnny Walker, no matter what happens, how bad he loses, he's flailing his arms all around, he just doesn't learn. He doesn't like to stick to the basics, and that's just the type of guy he is. He likes to go fight as what he perceives as a warrior. He's gonna go out there, throw some taunts, he's gonna throw some crazy kicks, punches, and he can definitely catch Vulcan. That can always happen in a Johnny Walker fight, but I think in this one, Vulcan Ozdemir is going to keep it patient and probably find a late TKO once Johnny Walker gets a little bit too frustrated and hectic. Nice straight punches down the pipe while Johnny Walker is trying to slam through him, and Vulcan Ozdemir by third round TKO in a hilarious fashion. Now, this Shara Magomedov versus Antonio Tricoli fight is pretty interesting considering Tricoli's glory kickboxing record, but it's honestly a fight that I think will go to Shara at the end of the day. His last performance, despite being taken down, he looked pretty amazing on the feet, and he's got less reach, less height than Tricoli, but I think his striking, despite not having the glory background of Tricoli also has been fighting a lot in boxing and karate and all these striking martial arts, but I think Shara is going to be the more well-rounded martial artist here. His jiu-jitsu is pretty good. I think he's going to take advantage of that. And once he mixes in the striking with that, I think Tricoli's going to start to get flustered. He's going to start to slow down, and that's going to be it. I think the odds are kind of insane. Shara shouldn't be a minus 500. We haven't seen him super tested in the UFC yet, but I do think he's going to win this. I think he's going to win by a decision. Maybe lose the first round on the feet to Antonio, or at least be competitive, but the second two, he's going to mix in the grappling, start overwhelming him on the feet, and he's just going to blast right through him. I think it's going to be a 29-28 for Shara, but I do hope he gets the finish, because we want to see that prospect energy. We want to see that aura from Shara, so let's hope that happens. Now we got Daniel Rodriguez versus Kelvin Gastelum. Now, this is a pretty sad moment for our boy Kelvin Gastelum because he's a guy who had so much potential in his career. He won tough. He fought Tyron Woodley at 170, and he moved up, did great for a while, had a huge streak going there, got shut down. That Izzy fight was super fun to watch. I'll never forget that. And he always was a scrappy guy, but I feel like at this point in his career, his body has finally started to wear away at him. And he just doesn't have that fighting spirit that he used to. He would go in there and die in the cage earlier in his career, but he's always had trouble with his weight. I think it's a little bit too late for him to come try and move down a weight class and go for a title shot at this point, and I think that D-Rod is going to overwhelm him. Despite being KO'd by Ian Gary is going to be a top 5 fighter for a long time, but D-Rod, I think, is just going to outstrike him a bit on the feet. I think that Kelvin won't be able to take it to the ground. D-Rod might even try to mix in some grappling. He's got to be careful not to get caught, but Kelvin's never been much of a submission artist, so I think that D-Rod is just going to outperform him. If things get tough for the feet on D-Rod, he always has the takedown he could go to. I think he's definitely the safer bet here. It surprises me that Kelvin, after how he's performed recently, is a minus 200, but that just shows how much people respect him for what he's done in his career. Unfortunately, though, I think D-Rod is just going to shut this fight out and win by a decision, so D-Rod by decision. Now we got the fight I'm most excited for on this card. Sergey Pavlovich versus Alexander Volkov. Who isn't excited for this fight? Sergey is an absolute tank. The Tom Aspinall fight, who gives a shit about that? It's Tom Aspinall, the GOAT, heavyweight champion. Fuck John Jones. But he's up against Alexander Volkov. It's great to see Volkov come on a streak so late on in his career. It looks like he's hit a new level. He's out here bulking, he looks like a monster, he's smiling in his fights. He's just got a lot more intensity, and it seems like he's finally grown self-confidence for his skills, because he's got all the genetics in the world. 6'7", 80-inch reach. He's built great for being a striker and the way that he fights. And I think that this is going to be a lot more competitive than people think. Minus 218 for Sergey Pavlovich definitely is reasonable considering how quickly he's blown through people. Alexander Volkov took the entire fight with Tai Tuivasa to be able to get through that, but Sergey just absolutely demolished him. And Sergey's reach is just absolutely unfair. 84 inches with the power that he has is just a cruel thing that God has put on this earth. But Volkov does really well against shorter guys than him despite having a shorter reach that come forward that are powerful. The Derek Lewis fight, I think he learned a lot from that. He knows how to avoid it, and he really does well when he's fighting strikers. Especially ones that aren't outfighters like Surreal Gone, who like to be cerebral and flow around the cage. And I think that I'm going to go with the underdog here. I think Alexander Volkov is going to either get a late TKO or win by a decision. But it's sad that these two have to fight. I don't know how that's going to play a factor in this considering they're friends and they didn't seem like they wanted to fight. So I hope they're at least paying these guys well. I fight in the gym all the time. It seems like maybe Sergey gets the better of him in a lot of those, but I really do see Alexander Volkov picking away at him on the feet, tiring him out, and probably winning by a decision, but I could see a late TKO, so we're going to go with Alexander Volkov. Alright, now we have Ikram Aliskerov, lots of height, versus Robert the Reaper Whittaker. So, these guys have pretty similar height and reach. Ikram is a bit longer than him, but they're the same height. If this was a prime Robert Whittaker, I wouldn't even consider this a fight. He's just a lot more well-rounded, despite Ikram growing recently in his career into his striking. But I think on the feet, Robert's going to be a little whimsical for him. Robert Whittaker, despite not using his offensive grappling a lot, has always been known for his amazing defensive grappling. The fight against Dricus might have shown some holes in that later in his career, but that was just a one-off instance. Despite that, in his career, he's done amazing against takedowns. So I don't think Ikram will be able to take him down. If he does, he's not going to be able to hold him down. And I think that Robert Whittaker is going to do his thing, dance around, score, win on points. If we get the Robert Whittaker in there that is aggressive and tries to swing and brawl with you, I think Ikram might clip him, but I do think Robert Whittaker's just the more tested guy. Ikram, super powerful, he's going to be dangerous early on, but I think Robert has shown he could go all 5 rounds. He's going to keep this on the feet. He's going to pick away at him. The first 2 rounds might be a toss-up, might go to Ikram, but he's going to pick it up later in the fight. And Ikram's only KO loss is to Khamzat Chimaev, but that was a long time ago. He's improved a lot. And it's really hard to call this fight. Obviously, Robert Whittaker is the slight favorite, but despite him, I feel like losing a step later at this point in his career, I do think that he's going to be able to edge it out against Ikram. And that's about it. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, I'm trying to build a martial arts channel. I've been doing it my whole life. Thought I'd bring it over to social media. And I really just enjoy watching the UFC and one championship and even sometimes PFL. So if you want to stick there for the journey, then subscribe, hit the like button, and comment for the algorithm. Peace, guys.